what challenges are facing Jair Bolsonaro in Brazil?
Well, the first challenge will be to trying to establish some sort of agreement with a wide range of parties. Brazil has a very fragmented political system with several parties, and many of the proposals he made will require a large majority in Congress. And his party is very small, so he will need to try to temper many of his very radical proposals, very radical ideas to change several constitutional issues in Brazil and establish this broader alliance. He would need to show to his supporters that he will do something about public security, which in Brazil is a huge problem. Criminal violence is out of control in many cities. However, his program, his political proposals established in his campaign are very thin in details about what he's going to do. And if violence continues to grow or continues to be in the current levels, his supporters will start to question whether he's really that different from the other politicians.
Now, the numbers in terms of violence have been staggering. It's 60,000 people murdered last year alone, a record around the world. And gun control has been one of the methods which he's been putting forward. And many of his supporters, as we've seen, have been using the gun-style hand gesture. Well, what other measures has he been proposing?
Well, very few measures. One measure that he specifies in more detail is the greater tolerance for police officers who make use of the guns during their work. So instead of being prosecuted, they would have an easier way out of any investigation or punishment. That will incur a number of problems. Brazil is a developing country, but it has some very strong institutions, very independent institutions. So institutions like the Supreme Court and public ombudsman offices will certainly oppose fiercely any attempt to reduce human rights and allow police officers to conduct such aggressive measures against criminal suspects before judgment. Another measure is the reduction of the minimum age to go to prison, which he wants to reduce from currently 18 years old to 16 years old. So very young men and women that could go to jail. But those are not exactly security proposals. They are more like social and judiciary measures. In terms of strategies, in terms of coordination with states, in terms of tactics and strategies to counter organized crime, he has been very, very thin in details. And that's something that can come back to haunt him in the future.
Now, Brazil, obviously, it's one of the so-called BRICS nations that was supposed to be part of the New World Order, so to speak, about 10 years ago. But now it's in recession, and the economy is not doing well at all. Has he spoken much about his economic policies and combating corruption in the country?
Yes, he didn't give details about his economic policies. He has publicly admitted that he does not understand much about the economy, which his supporters seem to understand and to forgive him. But he has named his economic advisor, and he has made clear that this economic advisor will be his finance minister. His name is Paulo Guedes. He's a respected neoliberal economist who graduated from the University of Chicago in the United States. And he has already said that he's going to privatize many of Brazil's state-owned companies. And he has pledged in his victory speech, Bolsonaro has pledged to conduct fiscally disciplined and responsible government, but also to cut government spending, reduce the size of the state. So quite liberal economic policies that tend to be the case for conservative politicians and parties around the world. But the problem with the economy, the budget deficit, there are a lot of problems, a lot of unemployment from the previous years of economic recession. And that is another area in which Bolsonaro will need to show some quick successes if he wants to retain this high level of public support.
Now, we saw in the United States another controversial president taking power with his plain speaking, which has generated, as I say, a lot of controversy. And people have been referring to Bolsonaro as the so-called Trump of the tropics. Do you think that's a fair comparison?
Well, I think that in terms of social issues, in terms of LGBTQ community, some of his comments about in the past about gay marriage and other civil liberties, I think certainly there are some echoes of Trump and other right-wing and even far-right politicians around the world. However, it's very difficult to judge Bolsonaro and compare him with Trump because he has said some outrageous things about minorities in Brazil in the past. And then during the presidential campaign, he has apologized, for instance, for his comments, some of the more insulting comments about gays. He has apologized for that. But he hasn't apologized about many other things that he said. So, and in his victory speech, he did say that he's going to govern for all Brazilians, that, he said that he will respect democracy and that he will unite Brazil. So we don't know which Bolsonaro will really govern, and that is a source of anxiety for many Brazilians.
Thank you very much, Antonio Sampaio from the International Institute for Strategic Studies in London.